Welcome to In Her Voice. My name is Kelly Covert, and I am passionate about helping women live authentically by listening to their inner voice. Get ready to be inspired by women of all walks of life that have set aside their should-bes and not good enoughs and are standing in their true voice, the voice of wisdom that each and every one of us has inside. Hey, you guys, welcome to episode 36 of In Her Voice. My name is Kelly Covert, and I am so excited that you are here. Thank you for pressing play today. Before we dive into this week's guest, I want to share something with you that I am really excited about. I am about to open the doors to my membership group, The Inner Circle. The Inner Circle is all about using the tools we talk about here, right here on the podcast, to listen to your inner voice and then take those ideas that you hear and put them into action. One thing I hear a lot from the women that I work with, and I've experienced it myself, is that when you start to do the work of connecting with your inner voice, it can be really challenging to take those ideas that come up and follow through with them. It's easy to start feeling overwhelmed or to slide back into that place of not even beginning because it might not be perfect or it might not be good enough. Can anyone say, I've been there and I've done that? The Inner Circle is a place to get the support and accountability you need to stick with the work of listening to your inner voice and to start putting those ideas into action, because action is what actually creates the change that we are all seeking. For less than the cost of a cup of coffee, like seriously, just a coffee, like not even a latte, you guys, you get the power of group coaching plus mastermind style accountability groups led by me, your inner voice coach. This is the magic formula of community plus tools plus accountability that will lead you to action. So if you are ready to put those ideas into action, join me in the Inner Circle. The doors will open on September 4th, and they'll only be open for a few weeks. To put your name on the list so you are notified right when they open, head on over to kellycovert.com/inner circle. That's kellycovert.com/inner circle, all one word, or you can just tap the link in the show notes on your podcast app. I can't wait to meet you in the Inner Circle. Now, on to our guest for this week. I'm so excited to have Jennifer Anderson on the show today to teach us about emotional resilience. Jennifer is a leadership coach with a focus of personal leadership and emotional resilience. She is an officially certified Daring Way facilitator, having studied with Dr. Brene Brown and her team throughout 2016. Founder of the Arena Coaching, Jennifer is also a facilitator, speaker, and mentor. She lives in Brisbane, Australia, and in her spare time, you will find her exploring the world around her, discovering spiritual rituals and traditions, spending time with her husband and her 2 dogs, or whipping up adventures of the culinary kind for her loved ones. You guys are going to love Jen's practical approach to really allowing and owning all of our emotions. So be sure to listen for that. We also dive deep into our mutual love and respect for Brene Brown and how her work has literally changed our lives. Grab your coffee, sit back, and enjoy this interview with Jennifer Anderson. Jen Anderson, welcome to In Her Voice. I'm so excited to have you here today. How are you?
Hey, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I am doing so well. It is such a spectacular morning here in Australia.
Right. And I was telling you before we got on the recording, I didn't realize you were in Australia, and you shot me a little email and it came to my inbox this morning that said, I'm so excited to talk to you in the morning. And I freaked out. I was like, oh no, did I get it wrong? And no, it's just that, I don't know, you're what, maybe 12 or 13 hours ahead of us?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for getting up early to join us here on In Her Voice. I'm so excited. And the theme that I really want to dive in with you today is emotional resiliency. I think that this is something that we don't talk about enough, but we really need to know more about. So why don't you just start with a little bit about what you do and telling us what is emotional resiliency?
Yeah, absolutely. So my business or company is called The Arena. So what we're actually all about is, at the absolute essence of it, is supporting people to be able to respond to life and not react. And that's with anything in life. So if you look at yourself standing in the middle of a circle and that sort of that circle starts to spin around you, well, that's life. And we need to be able to just, anything that comes our way, be able to respond to it rather than react. And when we're actually reacting, we're coming from a place of fear and of scarcity, and that's why we react. And part of that is actually comes down to our emotions. So when we're reacting from this place of fear and scarcity, something's been triggered inside of us. Something's upset us. We're feeling something. But because in today's world we live with such a limited vocabulary about our emotions that we actually can't actually identify what's actually going on for us. So we tend to then get defensive or blamey, and this is where all of the reaction comes in. We can also, when we're reacting, go the opposite way and be silent and disconnect as well. So what we're really all about is really helping you to develop that emotional resilience so you understand what's going on inside of you, and that's with your emotional triggers, and then we look at your behavioural patterns that then stem from that emotional experience, and then the actions as well. So we kind of look at everything and really be able to identify exactly what's going on for somebody with a particular situation. And then we look at different ways in which we could actually approach that situation to get the actual outcome that we're after, which is what we call responding to life. Yeah.
That's so interesting. So what I hear you saying is when we become more emotionally resilient, we have sort of a toolbox that we can dig into in any given situation to help us understand the feelings that we're feeling.
Absolutely, Kelly. That's exactly what it's all about. And we don't talk about it a lot. And I think it's certainly something that's we don't talk about in Australia. I'm from the work that I do with a lot of my American colleagues, it's very similar over there. And I think that is that, when we have these negative emotions that come up, and for some people it could even be the positive emotions, it's never been okay to express those or to actually talk about them. There's a lot of shame that goes on about expressing our emotions. And, in many times when people do try to express their emotions, they're made to feel like they're not good enough or that there's something wrong with them, that they're broken. And how dare they talk about something like that? We don't do that in this family or in this culture. So I really sort of look at it more as it's a bit of an epidemic, when in actual fact, our emotions are actually the root of everything that we think and everything that we do. So they're actually really important, and it's really important to develop that emotional vocabulary so we can actually understand what's going on for us, but at the same time cultivate our courage so that when we're actually expressing our emotions, which is what we would call being vulnerable, then we're being vulnerable with people who've earned the right to hear our story as well. I think that's a really important piece of this actual puzzle as well.
Yeah. And I think that piece, that cultivating our courage piece is almost the harder step. Because when we speak of the tools to understand our emotions, I almost feel like that's sort of intellectual, but then the cultivating the courage part is really deep work.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I also think that for some people it's going to be easier to identify the emotions And for some people, it's going to be really, really difficult if they've never really even known about the, entire 30 different emotions that we actually experience. And that is purely because we all come from different backgrounds and different experiences. So everybody's going to be a little bit different. Whilst I'm a really big believer that, yes, we are all one, what changes that is actually how we've grown up, how we've interacted with the world, our experiences at school and in the workplace as well. They all impact us and make us who we actually are, or as I like to think, who we actually think we are. But underneath that, in our core, I generally believe that, for most people, everybody's got a very kind and open heart. And in today's world, we certainly need a lot more of that.
Yeah, it's almost like all of these pent-up emotions, which we're too ashamed to express, or we're too scared to express, or feel that they're not allowed. They cover up that kindness, they cover up that compassion, and kind of build up a wall around that almost, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's a really big wall. And for some people, they're not even interested in taking that down. But some people want to dive into it. They want to take that wall down. They want to be completely who they are in their everyday life. And for some people, they want to do it, but it's a struggle with them because of, all of the other outside influences that might not agree with what they're doing. But it's really important that when we're actually fostering authenticity and integrity, that we actually look to start taking that wall down. And I think it's really important with that wall that we just aim to do it one brick at a time, that we don't take it all down at once. We do it in a way that is comfortable for you. Because if you're not comfortable with taking one brick, you're taking bricks down, then we need to get people to a place in which they're actually comfortable. And so people's walls can come down quickly, or they can come down little bit by little bit. But taking the wall down is a journey in itself. And this is definitely where the courage comes in to play here.
So what are some ways that we start to take down the wall? I mean, what are some practices, or how do you teach people how to start to allowing themselves to be vulnerable?
To be vulnerable. Yeah, I think it's really important as a first step is to actually learn to be vulnerable with yourself first before you can be vulnerable with others. And that involves a few different things. And the first one is really, it's just slowing down. We tend to live life at the speed of our Wi-Fi these days. And when we're doing that, we're actually detaching ourselves from who we actually are. And we're getting caught up in the busyness and the scarcity of life that's so rampant at the moment. So by slowing down, what we can do is we become more mindful. And when I mean mindful, I mean more paying attention to what's actually going on for us. Slow down, pay attention, rest during the day, allow yourself some reflection time, breathe when things are getting a bit hard or a bit complicated and you don't know what's going on. Allow yourself, give yourself permission to actually slow down and pay attention to what's going on. And the next thing I would definitely recommend is to be really honest with yourself about what's going on. What's going on for you? It's not right or not, it's not wrong, it is, and it is for you. It's not about anybody else, it's about what's going on for you. And then some other things that I actually asked people to look at is to really allow things to come up. Don't bottle them down. Obviously, if you're in the workplace, it can be a little bit different, and we have some strategies and tools that we can work with people there. But, to allow this, don't bottle it up, don't stuff it down, don't ignore and pretend that things aren't happening to you. And to know that you're not alone in it all as well. It's really important that when you're taking these bricks down, that you have some kind of support team around you, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's a coach or a therapist, whether it's somebody that does healing work or energy work, whatever that looks like for you. You could be dancing or expressing yourself in some other way. It's important to have that team of people around you that are going to be there that you can lean into for support if it's getting a little bit difficult for you.
I love that. I love that. And I think it's so important because so many of us, I think women especially, feel like we need to do it all on our own.
Oh gosh, yes, don't we?
Yeah, like I'm smart. I can figure this out and I need to be able to do it all by myself or there's something wrong with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that was definitely my journey into this world. I've always been incredibly, what I would call independent. I can go it alone and I've got it sorted and I don't need to rely on anybody. I can look after it all. And I remember as my bricks were starting to come out, I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. This is scary stuff. Because you're taking that look inward. And we're always going to have parts of us that we see that we don't like. And that's a really hard thing, to look at those parts and to actually take ownership of that. You know what? Sometimes I can't be a nice person. But to know that there's also all of these other wonderful things about you that make up who you are. So we've all got a little bit of, I don't even know what the language I would use here, naughtiness, I guess, in us, or things about ourselves that we're not proud of, particularly when it comes to behaviours. But you know what? That's actually a part of who you are. So we actually need to embrace ourselves as a whole and go, you know what? That's a part of me. And when it comes out, just to talk quietly and compassionately to it and go, you know what? Thanks for coming and showing up, but I've actually got this and I actually don't need you to take charge for me. I've got it. I can do this. Yeah.
And the other piece of that too, what I found in my own life is certain parts of myself that maybe I was once ashamed of. Now that I've owned them, now that I've said, hey there, Miss Rule Breaker, you can come out and play every now and then. I have this freedom. Because before I had to do everything the right way. I had to be Miss Perfect. I had to be everybody. I had to be everything for everybody. And so my sort of rebel spirit, my rule breaker spirit that was deep inside of me got stuffed down. And that's the side of me that now that I embrace her, she comes out to play and I have a really good time with that. And I'm totally fine with that. And I just feel that opening up to that place and being real about who I am just feels so much better inside of me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely, you feel that, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's that freedom and it's that completeness. But that only comes when we take ownership for it and we also understand the impact that those behaviors actually have, not on others, but not only on others, but also on ourselves as well. And when we understand how our patterns play out, then we can go, okay, I understand what's going on here. And I forgive myself in that moment and I give myself permission to know that it's okay. And that I'm not all this all the time. And to clean it up, if you've made a bit of a mess, the first thing to do is to always own your impact and apologise. Clean it up. And then you'll be able to move forward with new learnings.
Yes. So would you be comfortable sharing a story of your own, of something like that you worked on, sort of maybe a piece of you that you were trying to stuff down, that now you shine the light on that and that has come full circle for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I embrace my imperfections, definitely. They're constantly teaching me lessons. But the one that I'm probably not most proud of is that I can be a little bit defensive. But I've understood that I only get defensive when I feel I'm backed into a corner and I'm not being heard, I'm not being seen, and I'm not being valued. So I kind of come out fighting a little bit, like I'm defending myself. And that doesn't happen to everybody. It always seems to occur with the people who are most closest in my life, like my husband. He seems to cop a bit of that.
Funny how our husbands teach us so much about ourselves.
Oh, don't they? They really do. So, it's a pattern that I am constantly working on changing. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It was something that was kind of born out of my childhood as a bit of a survival mechanism. And we all have those survival mechanisms, or in the helping professional world, they sort of call them creative adjustments. So that's something that I work on all the time, and I do that with a lot of breath work and awareness. And of course, my husband's incredibly patient most of the time. And, he'll, after I've kind of settled down a bit, he'll say, he goes, we need to have a chat about what just happened. And I went, yeah, we do. And the first thing I do is that I take ownership for what I've done, and I'll be responsible with it, and I apologize deeply and profusely, and I aim to be better than what I was in that moment, in the next moment, and the moment after that, because life happens in moments. It doesn't happen like, oh, I'm going to be better, in 3 days' time. Well, how do you know what's going to happen in 3 days' time? We're not predictors of the future. All we can do is be the best version of ourselves in any given moment. That's all we can ask for ourselves. Otherwise, we're putting ourselves under so much pressure and stress. And as women, we seem to do that so much more than what men do. It's crazy. So, I'm just being the best of who I can be in each moment. And I'm pretty proud of that. And I think that's a great place to start.
And this awareness that you speak of, when that defensiveness rises up inside of you, the beauty of that awareness and that expression of that, and then the understanding of that, and then owning it, is that it takes away the shame from that. Because I feel that shame really comes from hiding. When we try to hide the things that we don't want people to see, that's when we feel ashamed of them. But when we put it out there and we say, this is me, and if we need to apologize, we apologize. If we need to own it, we own it, then that takes away all of that bad, shameful feeling away from it.
Yeah, absolutely, Kelly. I completely agree with you. It's when we keep that shame in that vault of secrecy, that's when it just increases substantially, that we actually need to speak that shame.
Yeah.
And it's only when we speak that shame and we can speak it with empathy and compassion that it then dissolves and we're free of it. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how it works.
I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about something that changed your life. And I know this because I read it on your website. But sometimes I think that we change little by little and step by step. And sometimes I think that there are moments that are like a lightning bolt. To me, I sometimes like to expect everything to be like a lightning bolt, so I have to be patient when I'm going step by step. But I love the stories of the lightning bolts too. And so I was hoping that you would share with us how Brene Brown's TED Talk on vulnerability changed your life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, that TED Talk and then the quote, the man in the arena, oh my goodness, life-changing moments, and over a very short period of time as well. So a bit of background, I have been working on a really crazy project. So I have a background in project management and business analyst work in IT. So I can be quite analytical. And I can get caught up in that. And I was working on this crazy project that was causing a lot of stress for everybody involved. And people were reacting left, right, and centre. I decided that was no longer the world in which I wanted to work in, because I didn't want to be in that kind of environment on a day-to-day basis. And so I left, and I decided that I was going to go and indulge in my passion for interior design. So I thought, oh, the languaging's so different. Analytical work and project management work, there's no woohoo words in that. It's very black and white, and there's no room for anything else. Whereas, interior design's more soft and it's flowy and it's gentle. And I thought, I'll go and do a coaching course, and that'll really help me change my languaging and be able to communicate better with future clients. And so I went in and I started doing this coaching course. And my master coach at the time said to me, Jen, I think it's going to be really great for you if you watch this TED Talk by this lady called Brene Brown. It's a wonderful TED Talk on vulnerability. And I just looked at her and I went, what is vulnerability? And she went, yeah, I think you really need to watch that TED Talk. And I was like, okay, I'll go watch the TED Talk. And I think I watched it once and my mouth was just wide open. I was like, oh my gosh. And I watched it again and again. And I was like, oh my goodness, my life doesn't have any vulnerability in it. Wow, this is insane. And then from there, I read The Gifts of Imperfection, which I read in one day. Completely floored me, that book. I see it as a bit of, it's my Bible through life in overcoming my perfectionism. And I really see myself as a recovering perfectionist.
Me too.
Now.
That's exactly what I call myself.
And then from there, I was lucky enough to find the Daring Way workshop in Sydney, which is south of me. I'm in Brisbane, so it's quite a distance. So I flew down there for the weekend and did this workshop, and which totally floored me again. And through this workshop, I was like, I just had this moment. I was like, this is the work that I'm born to do. This is who I am. I love this world. Not only do I find it fascinating, but it's real and it's authentic. And I went, I have to become certified in this work. This is who, I love it. I was so incredibly passionate about it. So I came home from that workshop. I read everything else Brene had written at that time, and she hadn't quite yet written Rising Strong. I think that came out about 12 or 18 months later. And I applied to become a facilitator of her work. And I was accepted. And really my life just hasn't looked back since. My life has done an absolute 360 shift in a very short amount of time. And through Brene's work, I've just really embraced who I am. And I've just become a much gentler, softer person. So I've definitely changed from the black and white languaging, that's for sure, into a more gentler approach with my languaging that I know that, really works for me and my family and my friends and also my clients. So it's been an amazing journey, but that TED Talk definitely rocked my world.
Well, I have to tell you, I still can remember exactly what I was doing when I watched that. I was training for triathlons at the time, and it was winter here in Syracuse, New York, where we get lots of snow, and I was on the trainer. So I was like just inside riding my bike, but not going anywhere. And I was watching TED Talks, and that one just came up. And as I was watching it, I just stopped. And then I got off my bike and I went and got my journal and I just started taking notes, and then I watched it again. And for me also was lightning bolt moment of I just need to have the courage to be who I am. That is what vulnerability really is. And that's what it means to be authentic, is to be me. And I love your story of this. And, here's my question. Why do you think women feel like we have to be so tough?
Yeah, I don't think it's just one thing. I think it's a product of a few things. And it really stems from the conditioning that we've actually had that's been instilled in us since we were kids, which then was instilled in our mothers, which was instilled by their mothers, and it's this whole lineage kind of thing. And if we look back in time about what our mothers and our grandmothers actually went through, they really went through some really difficult and challenging times where, emotional resilience really was going on, but it certainly wasn't talked about, and you never showed it because you just needed to get on with things in order to actually survive and get through life, to raise your children. Things were tough. There was a lot of wars going on. There was a lot of famine and depressions and things like that actually women just had to really shut themselves down to actually just survive. And in today's world, what we've found from all of the research is that actually really just isn't a very effective way to live, particularly from a health point of view, let alone, just wanting to be completely who you are. But we're also probably in a little bit more of a privileged position in society today, where we have evolved to be able to look at who an individual is in all of their entirety. So, their emotions, their behaviours and their actions. And we understand how all of that works now too.
So when we feel that tough girl come up in us, when we feel that hardness, for me, what I think about right now is just so much gratitude for the women who came before us, for the women who had to be that way. I mean, they're out there literally fighting for their families, fighting for their lives. And gosh, how amazing it is that now we can sit here, and you're in Australia, I'm in New York, and we can have this conversation about what they've done to pave the path for us to be able to have the space to dig into and understand who we are.
Absolutely. And my heart is just so incredibly grateful and full for every step that they had to take in order for me to live this amazing life that I'm now living, because it did start generations ago. It didn't, just start when we were born. It started generations ago. And, the suffering that they went through in order just to live on a day-to-day basis is just mind-blowing. And it's certainly not something we typically see in the Western world today. But yeah, wow, what they've done for us is just amazing. The fights that they've fought for women and women's rights, just incredible.
Mm-hmm. It makes me feel anyway, really connected. And again, to bring it full circle, it's about now when that toughness arises in me, I own it. And I say, do I need this in this moment? I get to choose that. And that's because of them. And it's because I've made this decision to choose that I'm going to be fully me.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree anymore with you. We have these amazing choices. And I know that when, my tough, resilient side comes out, I acknowledge her and I say, hey, thanks for coming out. I really appreciate it. But I got this right now, and I've got it in my new way, and it's going to be okay. So, let me have it. Let me take the lead on that. Let the new gen take the lead. The old gen will come out and will be required when I ask her to, not when she thinks.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's that choice is really important. Yeah. And how blessed we are to be able to have choices.
Yes, we get to choose. So wonderful. So Jen, why don't you take a moment to let my listeners know where they can connect with you online and in social media and all of that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at thearenacoaching.com. On there, I've got all my social media links. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Twitter. And, if you want to reach out and have a conversation with me, email me at info@thearenacoaching.com.
Fantastic. And I'll put links to all of those on the show notes for this episode. And as always, I would like to end with one final question for you, Jen, and that is, in your life right now, what is your inner voice telling you?
my inner voice is telling me to go back to bed and snuggle with my family, and just to express an immense amount of gratitude for them, for allowing me to have this most amazing journey with my work and being incredibly supportive in every step that I take.
I love it. Well, I will let you get back to your snuggling. And I do just want to honor and acknowledge you, your spirit, your beauty, your willingness to be vulnerable with us, to share with us the tools for how we can connect to our true authenticity and then begin to choose to live empowered lives through that. Thank you so much.
Kelly, thank you. It's just really beautiful. And thank you for all the amazing work that you're doing as well to raise all this wonderful awareness around embracing our imperfections. We need more of it in the world. So thank you so much. And thank you for having me. It's been a great honor and a pleasure.
Yes, I totally agree. And I have a feeling that this will not be the last time that we talk. So I'm looking forward to the next time.
So yeah, me too.
All right, Jen, thank you so much. Wow. I just love talking about juicy things like what it means to be authentic and what it means to allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling and to be okay with that and to understand how to work through that and to be mindful, and all of these wonderful practices that Jennifer shared with us. You guys, this is really stuff that we can be taking action on now. So I have a question for you. What are you going to be more mindful of? What are the things that trigger you? And then how can you begin to be aware of them and accept them and love that part of you and work through that so you can choose the way that you respond in any given situation instead of like just having a knee-jerk reaction? What is the thing that you will be mindful of? I really want you to take a moment and think about that, because this is about taking action. I don't want you to just listen to In Her Voice and think, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and then not go do it. I want you to listen, and I want you to put it into action and then reap the benefits of that. To feel good, to feel that difference, to feel like you're owning and that you're in control of those emotions. Because like Jen said, that's what emotional resiliency is all about. So let me know. Listen, I would love to connect with you guys over on Instagram. That's been my jam lately. I'm totally loving it over there. I'm posting once or twice a day usually, and I'm trying to get more Insta stories out there, just sharing you little snippets of my day, a little peek of what I'm doing. Oh, and also there's lots of Piper videos and pictures over there too. So if you're a dog lover, you can't go wrong. But let me know over on Instagram, what is the thing that you're going to be mindful of? Share it with me on a story, or, tag me or send me a private message. I'm at Kelly J. Covert over there, Kelly J. Covert, and I would love for you to connect with me there. And you know what would be awesome? If you would take a picture of your favorite place to listen to In Her Voice. Maybe it's on a walk, or maybe it's while you're doing the dishes, or if you're like me, maybe it's in the car. So tag me on Instagram with your pic at Kelly J. Covert. As always, I want you guys to know that you matter. Your voice matters. What you're feeling matters. Your emotions matter. They're not just there to be stuffed down, to be bottled up inside of you. They're there for a reason. And so listen to them. Listen to your inner voice. Listen to your inner voice and put those ideas into action, because your action is what will change the world. You are worthy.